Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and start building your wealth.
Let's go ahead and get this started. Ron Williams is on tonight, guys, and Ron and I have known each other for, I think, almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years this April, early April. He taught a class for us, and I was on the road. I was traveling. I couldn't be there. And Gina was being the host, Gina Hansen. And actually, when I got to where I was going, I had to get to the airport, drive and all that stuff. I got to where I was going. He sat in my driveway listening and watching. I was saying, man, this thing is really good. So you're in for a treat tonight. This is all about new construction. How do you attract the buyers who want to build new construction? I mean, what can you do to get the builders to pay attention to you? And right now it's easier than ever because new construction is down to an all-time low. And we believe quite firmly that this year is the year that that's going to turn around. Partly because we're getting a new Fed chairman, partly because interest rates are coming down. The Fed, after playing the wait and see game and realizing they were wrong, is now lowering rates more rapidly. They should have done that, 6 months ago, but sometimes people don't listen. So in any case, we are where we are. And the good news is it's a good time to get in this and be in front of it. So if you think about the way our team operates, for those of you who are new, we have agents in 38 states. There are a lot of the biggest MSAs, which allows us to have our fingers on the pulse of a lot of markets. And one thing I can tell you for sure, whenever there's a trend, it looks like it's going to develop, you want to lead from the front. You want to be in front of it. Does that make sense? As opposed to being behind and doing the wait and see thing. You raise your hand if that makes sense what I just said there. Being in front of the trend. Absolutely. That's why we do these things. And that's why we bring on people like Ron. So Ron has a program called Hoodle, and I'm sure at the end he's going to tell you about it. And we are actually partnered with him. Okay, our team is partnering with Ron, and I'm going to introduce them to Andre and James and Levi and Dan and Albie and all those guys going up to increase Ron's audience, step by step and do it methodically and responsibly. But for right now, you guys are lucky because you are number one. You're number one in this whole pecking order. So this can be part of our model this year. Obviously, we work with all buyers and sellers. We do specialize with investors. Obviously, we have a separate platform for that. But you always want to have a couple things going on. And this year, I think it's going to be new construction. Quite frankly, I think it's going to be the next 2 to 3 years. That's my personal opinion. So, in any case, Ron, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and take over. Your coach, you can share anything you want to share. Other screens, PowerPoints. And for those of you who are in here participating, just type your question in the chat box, or you can do a hand raise on Zoom, and Ron will see that, and Eric and I will monitor the chat box. Sound good?
Sounds good. Hey, Gary, thanks so much. How's it that you've got such a good-looking group here? I don't know that I've ever had good-looking groups like this, but I am happy to be here and happy to see all of you. And Gary and I, as Gary mentioned, we've known each other for a few years now, and absolutely love his training and the things that he's teaching. And so I'm happy to see everybody that's here. As we get started, first of all, I'm going to give you a couple of caveats, okay? One, there's a lot to learn when it comes to new construction. It's a huge opportunity, and for the most part, it's missed by everybody, by most realtors. I'd say 99.9% of realtors either don't realize that there is an opportunity in new construction, or they don't realize the size and scope of what the opportunity is and how to get at it. So I've been doing this for about 20 years. I don't look that old, but I've been doing it for about 20 years. I started in real estate back in 2001 with Coldwell Banker. Anybody from Coldwell Banker? No. Anybody that's been with Coldwell Banker in the past? You know what the Coldwell Banker program is about. And I was with Coldwell Banker, and one of the things that I saw right away when I became a realtor, and I'm located in Champaign, Illinois, hence all the jackets and clothing and extra layers that I got to wear here because I'm out on the frozen tundra of Illinois. But one of the things that I saw right away in my market in Champaign, Illinois, is that there were a lot of realtors, a lot of realtors. And I'm not even in a big market like a lot of you guys. So as we get started here, I want to ask a couple of questions. And just so I have a frame of reference of what your experience is and kind of where you are with your career and your what I call your desk, your business. And I want to ask you a couple of questions to tell me in the chat window here. Let me see if I can get the chat window open. Um, Number one, if you could tell me, are you a solo agent or are you a team? Are you part of a team? Just say solo or team if you've got a team or if you're leading a team or wanting to start a team. Um, Solo, okay. I don't even know how to spin this out here. Hang on a second. Solo. So it looks like so far most people are solo. And here we go. All right, now I can read. Got it. Got it. And the second thing that I want to ask you all is, and Sean is a team, and Rob is a team. Oh, excellent, excellent. Good to see you, Rob, even though I can't see you. Most of us here have cameras, Rob. Um, but my next question is, I want to know about your experience with new construction already. And so you can either say none if you really haven't done much with new construction or if you're really not familiar with it, or if you've worked with buyers and you've done a new construction buyer here or there, put buyers. If you've done builders, if you've actually listed builders or developers, say builder. So we got none and buyers. And by the way, that's where most of realtors are, is that Sean's worked with builders, excellent. Um, Represent both buyers and builders and developers, excellent, excellent. Most realtors, if they've done new construction at all, it's been on the buyer side of things. And that's because that's kind of what we're taught, and that's what realtors think that new construction is. I represent a buyer, I take them to a builder, and bada bing, bada boom, a deal is done, and I have a transaction, I have a closing. But one of the things that I learned is that new construction is way bigger than that. In fact, there are probably what I would say at least four different levels of new construction transactions, which completely changes the game. But before I get into the four levels here, and you guys be sure to jot your questions along the way here. I'm going to try to fly through a lot of different things and make sure we're covering a lot of things that are going to get you wins right away. Um, the first thing I want to say though is that the opportunity with the new construction is absolutely phenomenal in every single market. I don't know what market you in, but every market that we've looked at, the numbers are incredible. And it kind of looks like this. And I don't have slides on all of this, but you should be jotting some notes down here. Um, why is new construction such a big opportunity for realtors? Well, one of the ways to look at it is I think of a pie chart. If you draw a circle on your page, Monica, and so this is a pie chart of all home buyers in the United States in a given year. And you can take out a slice of that pie, Lily, of about 10% and just write 10%. And that represents the number of the percentage of buyers, of home buyers who are new construction buyers. So about 10%. Now that number is going up steadily. And we're creeping up to about 15% of buyers are new construction home buyers across the United States. Of all the buyers in every year, about 15% are new construction buyers. It's a lot. And the second part of that pie chart is 60%. So you've got 10% are what we call doers. They're the people that sign off on it and say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to build our dream home. The second big slice of this pie chart is 60%. And that 60% represents what we call dreamers. So every year, NAR does a big survey of home buyers, and one of the questions that they ask is, would you rather buy a new home than a used home? 60%, right about 60% every year, year in, year out, says, yes, I'd rather have a new construction home than a used home, than a pre-owned home. And, go figure, if was going to buy a car tomorrow, I'd rather have a new car than a used car, right? Probably most of us would. If we could do a new car, and if we could do a new home, we'd rather have a new home than a used home. There are some instances where people just want an older model home, or they want a Victorian, or they want, mature trees or something that they can't really find in their local part of town. But most people want a new construction home. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the third part of this pie chart is a little bitty sliver. Sean, it's like you could make a little sliver on your pie chart of 1%, but it's actually less than 1%. Does anybody have an idea of what that number might represent? So we got 10% of all buyers, moving up to about 15% now, are new construction doers. They pull the trigger on it and say, we're going to build a new home. And they do the deed. And 60% say, we'd like to build a new home, but for some reason they don't. Now, and just sit with me for that number, for those two numbers for just a moment. For every one person that purchases a new construction home in your market, there are 5 more who want to. Very often they can, most of the time they can, but they're not doing it. So the third number I want you to look at on this pie chart is actually less than 1%. In fact, it comes out to be about 1/10 of 1%. Anybody have an idea what that number is? You can put it in the chat, or if you got your microphone on, tell me what it is. You might be surprised. The third number of 1% represents, and it's actually 1/10 of 1%, the percentage of realtors who specialize in new construction.
Yeah.
Think about this for 1 second. You joined a career becoming a realtor where in many of your markets, anybody know how many realtors are in your market, roughly, ballpark wise? I could tell you a lot of them. I think Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if anybody's from Atlanta. There's around 40,000. Other places, there's, in Dallas Fort Worth, there's 45,000. There's a lot of realtors in every market. Kansas City, there's 13,000, and less than 1/10 of 1% of realtors are focused on and saying, I want to do new construction. That's my gig. That's my shtick. And consequently, you've got all these buyers that are just like, how do I do this? Because when you're a home buyer, there are a lot of tools, there's a lot of resources that are already available to us. We can go to the MLS, we can go to, you know, we can go to Zillow, we can go to realtor.com, we can go to all these different websites, and we can find essentially all the houses that are on the market, all the opportunities that are on the market for me as a buyer if I want to buy a used home. But when it comes to new construction, it's a completely different deal. Because Eric, now the buyers have to think about, if they're going to buy a new construction home, first of all, they have to think about, where can I build this new construction home, or where are they being built? In fact, I would jot that down, because the very first problem that a new construction buyer has, the very first question that they have is not, who are we going to build with? They don't think about that first. The first thing they think is, where can we build this style, this size, this price range of home? And it's not just the structure itself, but it's the commons area. Because generally, if you're buying a new construction home, if you're buying a new home, it's not just about the house, but it's about what's around the house, what's in the community. And they want to be in a certain school district. All buyers do, if they've got kids. But a lot of times it's about the amenities of the community too. It's about, well, I'd like to live in a neighborhood where there's a swimming pool, or where there's a clubhouse, or there's a lake, or there's a horse stable, or there's a tennis court, or there's a bike trail, or it's near the library, it's near the downtown, or something else. So a lot of new construction is contextual. It's about, where can we build our dream home? And of course, we all know about conformity rules. So, if I'm going to build a $500,000 house, it needs to be in a $500,000 neighborhood. Make sense? But here's where the rub comes in, because about 70% of new home neighborhoods are not listed.
Hmm.
Think about that. We go into the MLS and we just assume with the MLS, I can see everything that's available if it's a pre-owned home. But when it comes to new construction, not so much, because a vast majority of the neighborhoods where you can build, they're not listed. And even if they are listed, the developers only list about 5% of the actual lots. So if they've got 100 lots, Robin, then they only going to put 5 of them on the MLS, the list, one with you, one with Lily, one with Monica, one with Eric, and then 95, the other 95, you have to drive out and explore the neighborhood yourself. Why? Because they would rather you buy one of these other ones. There's no realtor attached and they get to keep the commission. Make sense? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the builder wants to earn and they want to keep as much revenue as they can. They want to have as much profit margin as they can. But it creates a big problem for buyers because not only are the lots not listed, but the neighborhoods themselves are not listed. And this is true in every city that we've explored. Okay. And then the other part of it is that, and this is an important one to jot down, 80%, 80% of all builders are what we call SMBs. And we now think that's more like 85%, but a vast majority of the home builders themselves are mom and pop businesses. They could bring up a Taj Mahal out of the dirt, over the next 6 months to a year. But if you ask them about, well, what's your marketing strategy? Most mom and pop companies don't have a marketing strategy, right? They just know that they want to get the next buyer. And so what turns out to be is that there's a very big opportunity for somebody to solve. And the builders, they're busy building houses and taking care of permits and buying land and buying their next lots. And so they don't have time to think about a lot of these things like marketing and going and getting the next buyer. So there's just this big disparity. There's this big gap between the buyer and the seller when it comes to new construction. And in fact, let me share a slide with you here. Do I have sharing capability here, Gary?
Yeah, you should be able to share
Let me
the
let me
green
show
share
you.
button.
Yeah, let me show you a couple things here. Um, okay. So now part of one of the interesting things, and the way I came about this, guys, is I was a realtor. And when I started as a realtor, one of the things I realized is here, before I jump into that, one of the things I realized was that I didn't want to be lost in the noise. It's very easy for your voice to be lost in the crowd of thousands of other realtors who are all basically doing the same thing. If you want to dominate your local market for new construction, if you want to become a go-to realtor of anything, the fastest way to do that is to specialize. It's to niche down. And when you begin to niche down, you begin to say no to a lot of things. I don't do farm properties anymore. I don't do ranches. I don't do, flip properties. I don't do foreclosures. I don't do condos. I do one thing. And I'm not saying that there's not other opportunities. There's a lot of niche opportunities, but new construction is the absolutely best because more and more people want a new home. And what begins to happen is when you get into new construction, you start to narrow your focus to just one type of buyer. And you narrow your focus to certain types of sellers. In this case, there's actually more than one type of seller. There's multiple types of sellers. And I'll show you what it kind of looks like. And here's what I think has happened with new construction. So I call this the theory of threes. And I won't get into every slide, but traditional real estate brokerage is kind of like this, right? There's a buyer and there's a seller, also known as the MLS. And every once in a while, we get to, we have our list of buyers and we have a stable of buyers that we're always looking for new buyers. And then all the sellers are on the MLS. And if we bring a buyer together with the seller on the MLS, cha-ching, here's you in the middle, and you get paid. There's closing, and you generally have to list, you have to split that with somebody else unless you're doing both sides. And but that's essentially our business, right? Does this make sense? Um, and because we're taught this way, because we're taught that's the way real estate works, that's the way it works being a realtor, we think going into new construction, that's still the way it works. It's not the way it works. Okay. It's a lot more. And let me show you what it looks like. Because when realtors move into new construction, they say, okay, I'm gonna specialize in new construction. Well, first of all, one of the mistakes that realtors make is they still think I can only represent buyers. And most realtors, just as in this group, very few realtors are specialized on the builder side of things. For some reason, realtors think, I don't have access to list the builders. Yes, you do. Maybe not every builder. I mean, some builders are going to be like a FISBO to you, right? Maybe they're not going to list with you, or maybe they're not going to list at all. Maybe they're not going to list this particular house, but builders do list their houses. And but realtors generally think, well, I can bring a buyer to a builder and I'll get a commission. And so they think that it's kind of like this: bring the buyer to the builder, you're in the middle, cha-ching. And a lot of times, the way this works also is you end up double siding it, where you're working with you're representing the builder and the buyer. So right away, your commission doubles. And I know some states don't like that, or some realtors think that that's not ethical. It's completely ethical, in my opinion, and I've never had a problem with it. And you're representing both the buyer and the seller, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But here's the truth of the matter, and this is where it really gets interesting, is because it's not just you and a buyer and a builder. Here's the way new construction works. It's more like this: a buyer that you'll represent to a neighborhood. You'll help them find a neighborhood. Now maybe there's a spec home already being built in the neighborhood. And by the way, all these boxes down here, these are supposed to be a database. Okay, that's my bucket, right? That's my bucket, Rob, of my bucket of my list of all my buyers, all the neighborhoods where the buyers can buy and build, and all the builders who are building houses in my local market. And the truth of the matter is, many times you're going to take a buyer to a neighborhood because that's the first problem that they have, that they want to solve. Where can I build? And then depending on the neighborhood that they choose also affects which builders are going to be available to them. If they're going into a big production neighborhood, like everybody has in most markets, you've got D.R. Horton and Lennar and Toll Brothers and D.R. and M.I. and all the others. In those big production neighborhoods, you've got one developer and generally one builder. If you move into an M.I. Homes neighborhood, you're going to get M.I. Homes house and M.I. Homes floor plans and M.I. Homes quality products that are in the house. There are other neighborhoods, though, and a lot of smaller neighborhoods and what we call open neighborhoods, where there may be multiple builders. There might be a dozen builders, or any builder can build there. And unfortunately for buyers, a lot of those neighborhoods are never represented to them. So this is where it kind of gets into an interesting dynamic, because the buyers don't know where they can build. They don't know who most of the builders are. And guess what? They can't find a realtor who knows much about it either. And so they just turn tail and just go, well, maybe we'll build our dream home later on. But right now, we got to get a house. Let's just get a house. But here, let me show you one more layer of this. And this is where it really gets interesting, because the truth about new construction is you're working with new construction buyers. NC is new construction. You're working with builders. You're working with developers and neighborhoods and the home sites in those neighborhoods. And the fourth level is raw land. And here's what's fascinating to me about this, Dutch, is that a new construction buyer, you can take them to a neighborhood and identify a lot, and then identify a builder. You can also take builders to neighborhoods. Are you guys with me on this? Is this making sense? And you can take builders and introduce them to a neighborhood, and the builders will buy lots. You can also graduate into doing raw land and taking it to developers. and helping them develop the neighborhood. And any one of these transactions, there's revenue on. Any one of these transactions, there's commission on. Okay, and one of the things that I often remind realtors is builders are not just looking for buyers. This is a really important point. There are four things that builders will say that they're looking for. These days there's five. They all start with letter L. If you're jotting notes, this is a writer downer, okay? There's five things that builders say that they're looking for from a realtor. Five pain points they have. One is leads. So that's the new construction buyers themselves. Now, a lot of times we think as realtors, well, that's all they need. That's all I really can really do for them is maybe provide them a buyer lead. And so we're taking buyer leads to a builder, right? Here's the other things they need though. They need land, okay? That because think about a builder, unless they're a developer and they've got a new development that's opening up, they usually buy a certain number of lots. Maybe they call that their land position. So if you're talking to builders, one of the things you can ask them, it sounds very, this is a smart question to ask. John, tell me about your land position. How many lots do you generally carry at one time? So they're looking for leads. They're looking for lots, right? Where can I build next? Because once they built three or four of these homes, they have to have more land to build on, right? The third thing that they're looking for is lending, because they're always, they've got a lot of capital that they're burning through, and they've got to have a steady capital and cash flow to be able to build the next house. And so those are three of them: leads, land. The fourth one is labor. And they're always trying to find more people to workers to build the houses. So when you start to recognize this, you start to see that new construction is a completely different dynamic than what we've learned up here. It's not just a buyer and a seller off the MLS. It is helping, if you're helping the builders and the developers, you're connecting them together too. And in a couple of minutes, I'll show you what we built with Hoodle. But with Hoodle, a lot of builders come to Hoodle and builders will reach out to me and say, I go to Hoodle because I don't know where to build. I don't know what's available in my local market. And so one of the things I realized early on when I started to specialize in new construction was that builders need help identifying the neighborhoods where they can build. They don't know anymore. They might know a few of them, but they don't know most of them. Tell me, by the way, in the chat window, tell me, guys, so I kind of, I'm not seeing it, or just shout it out. I don't even see the chat window. There we go. What geographic market do you serve locally?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, okay. Philadelphia, Southern Oregon, Connecticut. Oh, some nice markets. Boston, Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Charlotte, wonderful market. Boston,
Tampa
Chicago.
Bay.
What's that?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa. Tampa's an exploding market. Yeah, so new construction exploding in many, many different markets across the United States. Every market has its own peculiarities, but here's the truth of the matter. As a realtor, you have the opportunity not just to serve these buyers, but you can serve the builders, you can serve the developers, and you can serve even people that have raw land that they want to sell, or you can serve the developers and getting them into raw land, okay, and developing a new home neighborhood. And each one of these takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit more maturity in your experience to do each of these deals. But one of the things that realtors often don't realize is that once you win a builder as a client, you generally win the builder. Okay. You once you learn how to go after builders as a client, if you win a builder, you'll end up doing a lot of transactions with them. Okay. What realtors, the way they think the builders want to operate is that they think that a builder wants to build, if they're building 30 houses, I want to build one, have, Eric represent one and Rob and Dutch and Karen but that's not really the way it is. I mean, they'll do that by default because they haven't found a realtor that really they settle in with or that settles in with them. But really the truth of the matter is the way builders would like to work is they'd like to find a small handful of realtors that become their VIP. And I had a builder that actually taught me this early on, when we first created Hoodle, and I'll show that to you in a minute here. Um, when we first created Hoodle, um, builders were coming around and saying, "Hey, we really love this," and we were getting invited to speak to groups of builders in Chicago. I think Val is in Chicago and in St. Louis and in Indiana and all over the place. And we had a builder that rode up with us to Chicago to hear our presentation again and to hear what we were doing with Hoodle. And here, let me switch gears here. Let me jump over here and show you what this is so it makes more sense. Um, so what happened with me was that Rob, you might have heard this story before, but as I started to really get next to builders, and that's really my forte is learning how to partner with builders. And so for 20 years, I've learned how to create, partnerships, not a legal partnership, but a what I call a builder marketing partner, where I become their sole source and do pretty much exclusive marketing for builders and developers. So I'm marketing a whole neighborhood. And when we did this, when we discovered that builders have a real problem with marketing themselves, especially small builders and mid-sized builders and small developers, they're being missed by most of the realtors. They're being overlooked by the buyers. They don't really have a big marketing budget. They don't want to learn marketing, just as some realtors don't want to learn marketing, you know, and they would really like some assistance for somebody that could help to get their name out, help them identify, well, what makes you unique as a builder, why your home's unique, why is your neighborhood unique, how do we market this, how do we get in front of the right buyers. Um, and when I learned this, we ended up creating this website where we could essentially put all of the home builders in my local market. And any builder could join up, any developer could add their neighborhood page, and I was getting a lot of buyer leads. And I was also building unique authority. I was solving problems that other people hadn't solved. And so we came up with this idea of creating Hoodle, and Hoodle means it's like a mashup of neighborhood and Google, right? It's a search website for just new home neighborhoods. And what happened was, as quickly as I put this up, let me show you what it looks like here. Um, I'm in Champaign, Illinois, and so that's where Hoodle really began. And when we started this, it was, all right, we're just going to have neighborhoods and we're going to have home builders, but only new home neighborhoods. So people could come and they could join, they could search the website. And in the Champaign area, if they searched and they said, well, we want to build a house in a 60-mile radius of Champaign, they could see right now in 60 miles of Champaign, there's 162 neighborhoods. Now, in many of your markets, that's like a drop in the bucket. A lot of these bigger markets, there might be 2,000, 3,000. I think in the Chicago land market, in the greater Chicago land market, there's around 4,000 new home neighborhoods. Now you think about this. If you're a new construction buyer and you're building your dream home, which may be a once in a lifetime thing, you want to know what your options are. Am I right? You don't want to just pick, well, here's one, let's just go with this. You want to know the same as you would if you're buying a used home. I want to know where the neighborhoods are, who the builders are, what's the difference between one neighborhood and the other, the HOA information, all that information that is very hard to find and sometimes impossible to find unless you're going to spend, half your life looking for it. And so what we were doing was we created a way for buyers to see that very, very simply and very quickly, city by city, starting in the Champaign area. And they could even filter by the price of the home or the size of the home, or if they wanted one that has a lake or a walkout basement. And now this list is getting very long, and right now we're in the process of rebooting the entire Hoodle website. We're rebuilding everything, add more features to it. But they could quickly begin to see a map or see this is our list view, and then they could begin to drill down into individual neighborhoods and see, well, if they searched, if they said we want to build a $300,000 house and we want, 2,500 square foot, and we want to live in this area in Champaign, Illinois, this one might come up, and then they could see unlimited photos. This one doesn't, just has a few. They could see the plat maps. They could download these or save them or print them. They could see other subdivision documents like lot list and incentive programs and which builders here. They could even see which builders are here. And they could begin to save this as a buyer. They could save it to their own profile. They could share it on social media. They could begin to look at different builders. And so they can start going step by step. Well, we really like this neighborhood. Who are the builders that are building here? And they could start to see the different styles of homes that the builders are building. Not only could they see that, in this case, it's got 46 photos, but they could see the different floor plans. This guy's got 65 different styles of homes that he builds. They could see other neighborhoods where they build. They could see videos. I won't play this whole thing, but I'll show you just so you have a sense of what it is.
My name is Steve Mead. I'm with Signature Homes. What I'm building is a little bit more than 2,300 square foot ranch home. It's got 3 bedrooms on the main floor.
Now, what I didn't know about, I'm sorry, go ahead. What I didn't know at the time when we built this platform was that nobody else has really done it before. And about the time that it was going live, Cole Banker reached out to me and said, "Hey, Ron, we've got somebody that is going to fly into town from corporate that would like to meet with you." And I thought I'm probably in trouble because I hadn't seen anybody do this. So I thought, all right, I'm probably coloring outside the lines too much. And but that was not the case. So the guy that flew in was the CEO of Cole Banker, a guy by the name of Jim Gillespie, who, very big wig in the real estate brotherhood. And he certainly didn't know me, and I'd seen his name on CNN, but he came in and I was told, you've got 10 minutes with Mr. Gillespie. And we ended up spending an hour and a half. And during that time, he was basically going, "I've never seen this before. We need this all over the United States." And he invited me that day, "Would you like to come out to New Jersey? Because I'd like to introduce you to the corporate headquarters and to our parent company." And he started right away telling me, "You need to think about taking Hoodle outside of Champaign, Illinois." That was when I first realized that, because until that time, I just thought, well, this is just a problem in my little local market of Champaign. And shortly after that, Dutch had very similar type of experience with the home building industry, where the local HBA asked me to come and present to a group of builders. When there was about 55 builders that showed up, and we showed it to them, and the builders were, during this presentation, some of these builders were already on the website, and builders were saying to me, "Ron, this needs to become like the MLS for home builders." Or some of, they kind of got into a little bit of a debate, no, it's more like the Airbnb of home building. I didn't care either way. I was kind of excited, but I was pretty much terrified by the whole thing, because I'm just trying to be a realtor and solve a problem. Here's one of the things that this did for me, though, is that if you want to become the go-to realtor for anything, there's 3 things that you have to develop. Okay, 3 things you have to build in your positioning, in your persona. Okay, you have to create authority. And by authority, I mean in your topic, if it was farm properties or ranch properties or tear downs, which is also a part of new construction, or condos or beach homes, you have to create authority. And by that, you need to have confidence in that topic, in that specialty, and you need to have competence about what's the inventory, who are the resources, and how do you buy a beach home? How do you buy a condo? Right? The second thing that you have to develop is not only authority, but you have to develop unique positioning. So you want to basically solve a problem that other realtors haven't solved. For me, I was solving multiple problems with this website. Was that I was solving a problem for the builders who are not getting in front of the buyers. I was solving a problem for the developers who were also not showing up for a lot of the buyers, and I was solving a problem for the buyers as well. Because all of a sudden they're able to see all the builders, or most of them, any one of them that wants to be here, and all the neighborhoods, and any one of them could reach out and send a message, and cha-ching, I got another buyer lead, right? So that's kind of where this began. And the third thing that you want to develop though is differentiation. If you want to own your specialty as a realtor, you have to be different in what you're doing. So most realtors make the mistake of when they're trying to sell to a builder or developer, they want to tell them, well, I'm part of a bigger team, we're a better team. We've got this, we're bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger, better. And builders always say to me, that's what all realtors say. What you need to say, if you want to go after builders, developers, is you need to talk about, John, I've got something that's a little bit new, or we've got something that's different that you're going to be interested in. New and different is what they're interested in. Okay. And different is better than better. There's an author that said recently in the last couple of years, different is better than better. That's a really good thing to remember. Because if you go to the builders and say, hey, we're taking a different approach, and by the way, right now we're in January of 26, this is the time when builders are interested in doing something new. The market looks like, as Gary shared, it should be good. I know the current administration is trying to bring down mortgage rates and they're doing a lot of different things. And he is a builder, by the way. So he's encouraging home building, he's encouraging development, and he wants more people to be able to buy homes. We have a huge shortfall of new construction homes. You guys probably know this. I think it's somewhere several years ago, a few years ago, they were saying we have we're short by 4.5 million homes in the United States. I think that number is probably higher than that. Do you know, Eric? Do you know what the number is?
For 2025 new construction?
Just for the amount of homes based on the number of people that could buy a
Yeah,
home.
it's
Oh,
fluctuating between 4 and 5 million, depending on who you listen to.
Yeah,
Probably closer to 5 million.
yeah. It's incredible. So there's a huge need for new construction homes. There's a lot of
mhm.
builders that want our help. And when I really stepped back and just looked at this though, and I was like, okay, buyers want to know the neighborhoods. Buyers want to know the builders. They don't want to just know who the builders are. They want to know the difference between this builder and 37 other options. What's the different styles of homes? What quality products do they use? What quality of appliances do they use? How long have they been building? How many homes do they do a year? How long does it take them to build a home? Where do they build homes? There's a lot of stuff that you have to kind of figure out if you want to build a new home. And so when we created this, all of a sudden, I didn't really realize it at the time. I wish I could say I thought it out ahead of time. I was trying to address a problem, but people were going, hey, we need this in every city all over the United States. So we started getting invited to come to present to other HBAs, other home builders groups in Chicago, and in just different places around the United States. So in fact, we were driving up to Chicago to present to a group of there's three different HBAs in Chicago. This was one of them is out near Naperville, and we got there, and this builder was already on the website. We hadn't even told anybody about it, but builders were finding Hoodle, and they're just logging in and loading up their photos and putting their neighborhoods on. And you can also see where we're going this year is in 26, we're going to start adding suppliers. We're adding a lot more. We're adding suppliers, we're adding mortgage, we're amping up what we do with realtors. So right away, when we started opening this for other cities, we said, all right, we want to make Hoodle consumer centric, but it's going to be realtor powered. So realtors have the opportunity to attract buyers and create listings, create neighborhood listings. And so we got it, as we're driving up to Chicago, we had a builder in Champaign that said, hey, can I ride along with you? And, I want to hear the presentation again. So she rode up with us. And as we're driving up, I'm asking her, this builder builds about 30 homes a year, I think, about 25 or 30 homes a year. And I said to her, so, I'm glad you're excited about Hoodle. The thing that's exciting to you about it is that you can connect with more buyers, right? I don't remember if it's something like that. And she said, no, not really. She said, that's kind of icing on the cake. I said, I don't get it. She said, and her name was Nicole. She said, Ron, the thing that I really like about Hoodle is going to let me connect with the realtors who have the buyers. And and I said, so, and one of the things she explained to me, she said, one of the things that realtors don't understand about us as builders is that, realtors think that I want to build one house, want to sell one house through Eric and one through Rob and one through Dutch and one through Karen. But she said, that's not really the way we operate. She said, if you think about the way builders build, she said, how many drywallers do you think I have? I don't know. She said, I got one drywalling company. How many roofing companies? I said, don't know. She said, just one. She said, how many electrical companies? I said, one. She said, no, I got two for that. HVAC, two. And she just went through this whole list of all her subcontractors. She said, that is the way that we operate. We build a structure, we build a process, and we build a team. And what we would like to do that realtors don't understand is I'd like to have a few realtors that know my product, that know me as a business, know what is, know my challenges as a builder or as a developer, and they know which kind of buyers are going to be best suited for what we build.
Hi, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching a recording of the Monday Night Live class. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. I'm sure you will. I wanted to let you know that, you can come to Monday Night Live whenever you want, but you can also participate more with the team. Why don't you set up a call with me, a one-on-one strategy call? I can go over everything with you, show you everything that we have to offer. For example, did you know that on our team, not only do you get your leads, we actually give you your own account on our lead gen system. So this puts you in control. You're not waiting on somebody to hand you leads. You get to pick the ones you want. Okay. Huge difference. We have 21 of our own proprietary marketing campaigns. They're all copyright protected. We're the only ones that can use them. Okay. The coaching is absolutely one-on-one. We got 3 coaches. We even have a 4th success coach that we have access to. Okay. One of left fewer than 100 in the world. Okay. One-on-one coaching. Right now the big problem is volume. We need more transactions. We need more inventory. I get it. Well, we know how to get it. Our team actually outproduces the national average by more than 2 to 1. So if you're struggling, don't do that anymore. If you're a solo agent, if you're a team, let's just talk. Smart entrepreneurs are always open to discussion. Learn what we have to offer, and then you can make an informed decision about staying where you are or moving on. You got to decide, if you're not where you want to be, you've got to take action to get where you want to be. Let's see how we can help you do that. I look forward to talking to you. Click on the link, set up a call. And by the way, I'll see you on the next Monday Night Live.
That was a big learning for me. Gary, I think I'm way off track here.
What I think probably help is how many here feel like you have more questions? In other words, you really want to see how this works. In other words, what's the benefit to us as agents for this? Because Ron came and talked for us 4 years ago. Several people took advantage of it, and really the platform. So you're allowed you get your own web page, and you're allowed to showcase so many developments in your area with this platform. But really, the benefit is attracting the buyers who want new construction, and they're usually pretty set on it. And the thing you want to do is get them pre-approved, right? and then you can connect them with the builders. But Ron, do you want to show them like the mechanics, how that actually works? Is that, you guys want to see that? Like the nuts and bolts of it, how this actually works? Would that help?
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was going to suggest for you too, Ron. Put yourself in the shoes of the real estate agent, kind of like you did when you and I spoke. You know, the
yeah,
conversation you would have with the builder, how that looks, what you're allowed to show and have, and all of that. You know.
yeah. Thank you, Rob. So as a realtor on Hoodle, and this is one of the kind of interesting spaces or opportunities that we have, is that neighborhoods are publicly recorded information. So think about that for a second. All of us as realtors are scrambling and struggling. I got to get a listing, so I have something to market, right? But on Hoodle, you can add neighborhoods as long as you take your own photos. You don't even necessarily have to have a relationship yet with the developer. Now, you're going to want to develop a relationship with them because that's how you get the listings, right? But the way that we set this up is that realtors can add new home neighborhoods in your local market, provided that, one, it's not already on Hoodle. So it's first come, first serve. If a neighborhood's been taken and you're in the Tampa market, I heard somebody say Tampa, this is someplace in the Tampa area. If it's already on there, then that neighborhood is spoken for. Okay. And that realtor will have access to that neighborhood unless they get out of real estate or quit the program or whatever. But, and all the buyer leads that are coming in on Hoodle are going to go to that realtor. This particular realtor, I don't know who was in Tampa. I didn't catch the names there. Carla started with us back when we first started opening this up. We started the year before COVID, and we started opening up, and Carla joined shortly thereafter. We started first just in Indianapolis, and pretty quickly it started spreading. People were calling me from Orlando and Tampa and Fort Myers and Raleigh, Durham, and now we're all over the United States. And this is one of the pages that Carla has added to the website. And she's gotten so much traffic and buyer leads off of this. So to your point, Rob, what happens is you can create a neighborhood page. Now we do say take your own photos. Don't use any of their proprietary content of the developer because it's copyrighted. So there's intellectual property, right? If it's copyrighted, and in this case, see, she's got some artist renderings, but that's because she went and met the developer. They said, and most of the time when you meet the developer, they're just like, oh, heck yeah, use anything you want. We don't want to assume that though. So she created this page, and then she called me up one day about a year ago, and she said, hey, could you take a look at this page? I said, yep. And so I went and looked at it, and I said, wow, that's really nice. You've done an excellent job on this. What am I looking at here? I said, I didn't know if she's asking for recommendation. I said, you could put more photos on it. You could add, other stuff. You could add video link, that kind of stuff. But what am I looking at? And she said, I just wanted to get your ideas on this. I said, well, okay, I like it. And I said, what about it? She said, I'm getting more leads off of this. She said, this month we'll do about 36,000 in gross GCI from this page from buyers. She said, next month I think it'll probably be 48,000. Now, the last time I talked to Carla about this, and one of the things that you'll learn is that when you start doing this, you will discover that the buyers are the easiest part. The buyers are really the simple part. And when you start to win builders, you not only win the neighborhood, but in a lot of cases, you're going to set up a relationship where you're taking care of all their properties, all their marketing, all their leads. And I don't know where she's at with the number of builders that she's got right now. Last time we talked about it, I think she had 13 different builders that she was either had a exclusive or semi-exclusive relationship with. This becomes a lot of listings very, very quick. And I could tell you a lot of stories about that, but I don't know if I answered your question or not, Rob. Um, but what happens is a buyer will come onto Hoodle and they select a neighborhood that they like. they can click a button, they can log in, and that lead goes directly to you as a realtor. And so now, what I will say is, um, you you know, it's like anything. If you want to build a niche in new construction, if you want to use Hoodle, if you want to win over builders and developers as clients, you have to go meet them. You have to connect with them. And one of the things I've learned over the last few years is this is not for everybody. It's just not. And I never want to pretend that it is. I've had realtors tell me, you mean I got to go meet builders? Only if you want to do a lot of business with them. Okay. If you don't want to do business with them, then it's probably not the right deal. And we've got one realtor that I just spoke to last week, who I won't mention his name because I didn't ask him if it's okay yet, but um, we spoke last week and he said, he was calling to tell me how his 2026 is looking. I said, well, what's going on? And he said, I've got somewhere between 20 and $100 million of property in the pipeline. At a minimum, I'll do $20 million in sales, and it's going up. And he's already messaged me on Friday and said, "Hey, I got more to tell you." And so once you get into the rhythm of this, it starts to grow exponentially fast if you do it. If you don't do it, nothing will happen. It's kind of like buying a gym membership. If I buy a gym membership and never go to the gym, never push the weights, I'm never going to get six pack abs.
Ron,
Like
may I
Rob.
ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what I'm gathering from what you're talking about is that basically you're using the buyers to win over the builders and developers and get your foot in that way. You're kind of using a backdoor approach, correct?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
I mean, you're not really going to them using this site to win them directly. You're basically using the fact that you're winning over buyers by using like these pictures, for example, and posting them and having the buyers come to you and then going to your builders and developers saying, hey, listen, here's where I'm getting a lot of business for you.
No, that's not exactly right, Karen. But you're on the right track. I mean, if you think about a builder, what's your biggest bait, if you will? What's the biggest um,
Well, you
thing
want
that's
to have the lead.
yeah,
You
you
want
want
to
to
have
have the
the lead
lead,
that buys the final product.
right? Yeah, so that's part of it. But what else?
Well, you want to do it all. I mean, basically.
Well, and one of the things that they want is they want demonstration that we're actually going to market them.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, you want the marketing, you want the whole enchilada, but ultimately they want the sale.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, we all want to do the transaction. Now,
Right.
now there's this whole other component that we haven't even talked about that we probably can't get into, tonight, but and that's the coaching side of things, and that's every single week. So it's not if you join up with Hoodle, you're not just joining a website. Every week we go through coaching, and we start with step one. Okay, identify your market, and we go through the process of how do I find out very quickly, there's like five modules or phases of this, but how do I find out how many builders are there in my market? Because most people don't know. How many neighborhoods are there? And how many new construction buyers are there? And who are the realtors that specialize in new construction? That's the first thing I teach everybody to do is learn your market. You can do it very, very quickly. And immediately you begin to speak differently and approach things differently than everybody else that you're competing with. And then you go out and you start learning the inventory. You learn the inventory of the neighborhoods. What are the neighborhoods where somebody can build? Now we assume that we know, but we don't. We know a little bit, but we don't generally know most of them. And we start to learn the inventory of the builders who are building in those neighborhoods. And so the way I teach it is, Karen, you go out and you start to meet the builders, but you don't meet them and go, well, John, I'd like you to list with me. You go out and you meet with John and you say, John, tell me about your company. And you learn about their company, you learn about their pain points. And we call it a consultative sales approach. It's less about going and trying to get a listing. It's more about learning. Okay. You're not going out there to, I say, stop thinking about the transaction, start thinking about the relationship.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that's the best way nowadays anyway. Well, I mean, it's an old-fashioned way to just go out and bang out the sale.
But the builders love it because generally most realtors are not doing this. And when you go out and you start to interview builders, they will say, you know, we hear it all the time as builders going, you're the only realtor that's ever asked these questions. Why, why don't realtors know about my business? Because we're all busy trying to get the next transaction. And what I'm saying is go build a relationship with the builder. Instead of getting one listing, you end up with all the listings. Okay. And now you can attract all the buyers that you want. So I don't know if that answered all your questions. Um, and I know I'm already over time here. I'm fine if you guys have other questions or anything you want to cuss or discuss. Um,
If you guys, feel free to go ahead and speak up. But really, this is instead of you building something on your own, or us developing a new, platform, a perfect platform. This is already ready made. It's already a proven product. I don't know, probably close to 100 markets now. Um, so this is the kind of thing you want to have to get, ultimately you want to get the listings from the builders. And using this platform for you to get the right people, the right buyers, pre-qualified, and also get, your connection to the builders. I haven't seen anything on the market yet like this. And I mean, and I've been looking, and I haven't seen anything before this either. So I think this is the first product I've seen that addresses this market. It's just for us. It's not really, um, obviously the consumers can look at this, but it's built for us, the agents. Does that make sense? You can either build it yourself, put all the time, energy, money into that, or get this. You know, if you want to make new construction part of your model going forward, and I think we should do that as a group going forward. So, I mean, there may be something we can do together as a group with Ron. Ron's wife is in her organization underneath Gina. So I don't know, Ron, I haven't really thought about that too much, but we call them huddles. We have a huddle, i.e. mastermind, just for our CAP program, Certified Affordable Housing Provider program, that Lily and Eric are heading up. And then we have another huddle for agent attraction for agents who want to build their downline. We could easily build a huddle around this. Actually, let me ask you guys this. What do you think of the idea of building a huddle, i.e. mastermind of say 10 people who really want to focus on this as one of the 2 or 3 things you do? If you're interested in that, just type yes in the chat box or raise your hand so we can see you. Because I think enough of it myself personally, seeing what some of the things Ron has mentioned, new Fed chairman, lower interest rates, and quite frankly, the shortage of housing that Ron was pointing out. And also, if you look at Lisa shared with us this morning in the Agent Attraction Huddle an article, and I think Lisa, was that from LinkedIn or Indeed? The one that showed that the number 3, I think it was Indeed.
It
The
was
number 3,
LinkedIn. Yeah. Do you want me to put the link in the chat?
yeah, you go ahead and
Okay.
share that. What it said, guys, is the number 3 need as far as jobs being fulfilled is us, real estate professionals heading into 2026. And it was a large part because of new construction, you know. So, and actually builders, I think, were one of the top 25. So the engineers was number 1. But um, so in any case, I mean, all the writing's on the wall, you know. But if you guys would like that, let me see. Hoodle Huddle, there you go. We'll do a Hoodle Huddle.
yeah, I like
Rob, would
that.
there be a way to integrate this with, I know you're serving a lot more people. But something like this is a starting point, can you see that working,
Yeah, yeah, I need to hear exactly what you're thinking, but absolutely. And guys, Gary, I mean, I, Cindy's going to be part of your same family line, my wife.
Yep.
And so I'm very excited about EXP, and so there's no reason why we couldn't do something. I don't want to commit to something until I know exactly what we're doing. But
Yeah. Well, right now there's 7 takers, which is good because we've got 25 people on. That means there's another, this email is going to go out tomorrow to over 700 people. And another 30 or 35 are actually on the team. So we could easily get to 10 or a dozen people, which is what we like to see on the huddles.
oh,
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
I,
yeah,
I think the question too comes, I mean, people are probably wondering what the cost is if they're interested in pursuing this further, but I do think that it's a great idea, to be able to own a niche.
yeah.
Um, well, and I can get into that. And now the cost is changing. Do you mind if I share that, Gary?
No, go ahead. I know 4 years ago, as you were just getting started, it was like $40 a month or something. We were telling you, Ron, we think you need to raise that. You got a
Yeah.
powerful product,
Yeah.
but I think your structure is changing, right? You're with the coaching and so forth, right?
Yeah, the structure's changed a lot. It's grown a lot. We're in the process of we built a whole new product that's getting ready to release that's going to have a lot more features for the realtors, and now mortgage and architects will be soon to be included as well. But one of the things that a lot of people have said is that they love the platform, but I've had several realtors say, hey, the reason I'm getting all these big closes, and we're talking about, some realtors that are closing 600-acre neighborhoods. You're closing that as a transaction, and 150 lots, and 150 homes, and so it's major. But one of the things that people have said is where I'm getting my biggest bang for being a part of this is the coaching, is the things
Mhm.
that I'm showing them. And that takes time, just going through it week by week. So we actually are adding a coaching program and the price is going to go up dramatically from what it is. But I will do this. I open this page and I talk to my wife about it, and it's like, I don't know. You know what? With you guys, and it is probably the last time that it ever shows up like this. Okay, this is what we were charging when we started Hoodle. And so now this reflects, I'll share this page with you if you guys want it. What this reflects is what what we've been offering to realtors who join Hoodle, and we call it an affiliate realtor, Hoodle affiliate realtor. So you can join for one or more markets, and you can purchase either 5 neighborhood pages or 10 neighborhood pages. These are in the wrong order for some reason. So you can have up to 10 neighborhoods, or you can have 5 neighborhoods. And we did this for a very limited time. We only had only allowed that for a few people, but this will probably the last time or one of the last times I'll ever share this page, because we're changing the whole structure. So as we move forward, what we're planning on doing is somebody will join the coaching package, and then they'll get Hoodle as a bonus. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just, something we've learned from the way we're doing things. One of the things I've seen is the people who show up for coaching are the ones who are getting the wins. And the people who don't show up, you know, I don't want anybody to join and then turn around and quit and not get anything out of it, because I invest a lot of time of myself training people. We also don't want somebody to join and then not take advantage of it. It's a huge win for you when you do. And I can tell you many, many examples and stories all over the country, in San Antonio and Maryland and everywhere, in Florida and Oregon, where in Louisville, Kentucky, where people are going in and they learn this process, and very quickly they're getting invited to an exclusive relationship with a builder or developer. And so that's what I want for everybody who's going to be a part of it. I don't want, I'm not picking on anybody, but there are different types of realtors. There's some realtors that are very serious about their business, and there's some that aren't as serious, and I'll leave it with that. And, you know, if for the people that, and in fact, you'll notice on the Hoodle website, there's not even a button that says realtors join here. Now we're going to change that, but the kind of the approach that we've taken is that I want to know everybody that's on the website, because I want, you know, we have a community, we have coaching, we have accountability, and I want you getting the wins. And I have had people that have joined that they didn't really take advantage of it. They throw up a page and have 3 crooked pictures with their thumb in the picture. It's like, dude, that is not going to attract a builder. You're not going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars commission if you got crooked pictures of their neighborhood with a garbage can in the, you know, in the front and center. So we have to take it seriously, and that reflects on you as a realtor, it reflects on the builder or the developer, and reflects on Hoodle. So this is the subscription page. And if anybody wants to join from your group, Gary, then I'll honor the same pricing. One thing I would say though is that and I don't have it on this page. If you absolutely need it, then reach out to me. We can talk about it. But I am moving away from, I'll do month by month, and that's fine. But I want people to make a commitment of sticking with it for a year, because it just, you know, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. You have to go meet the builders, and you can get wins very, very quickly. You can get wins the first time you go out and meet with a developer. I've had a lot of builders, a lot of realtors that go out, meet with a builder, and walk out with a listing. I've had other realtors that walk out and meet with a developer, and they're listing the whole neighborhood. So you can get the wins very quickly, but you know, obviously you have to take a minute to go learn the process and connect with them. Karen, did I answer your question?
Which one?
I don't know. Last one you asked.
The
The
price
cost.
one?
Was it, Ron, you're saying it's 800 for the year, 799 for the year? Is that right at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
or the monthly, that you have
Or
both,
the monthly.
right? So, yeah, so, yes, you answered my question.
Sure,
Thank
for the
Yeah.
year, that'd be 200 a quarter, so it'd be 66,
Mhm.
67 a month if you broke it down, the annual one, but if you pay up front.
Well,
Otherwise,
they,
you pay monthly at
no,
79.
they do, he has 2 different
No.
ones. Either you pay one up front or you pay it monthly, and it's a little more if
Right.
you pay monthly.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if you took the
it's
annual cost,
essentially,
yeah.
it comes out to about $10 a page, a neighborhood page. Now, by
Right.
point of comparison, the only other thing that's like what we're doing, which is not, is New Home Source. So our nearest competitor is New Home Source, which charges about $1,000 a month for a
Mhm.
page. And you can't, and a realtor can't buy that, only the builder or the developer. So realtors can deliver traffic, but they can't get leads off of New Home Source. And so, you know, these pages, you know, you're creating a page, you own that page, you can update it as often as you want. And any buyer leads that come in on it are your leads. We don't take a commission for it. We don't take a referral fee. That's yours. What I do want to know is, you know, when you got to win. And so that's gives me a chance to do a giddy dance and, you know, tell about, you know, who's winning this week. So, yeah, that's essentially it. And in moving forward with coaching, the way it's probably going to operate, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's probably going to be about $5,000 for a solo agent for a coaching package, and you can have Hoodle for free. And for a team, it'll be a minimum of $10,000 for a coaching package, and you get Hoodle for free.
And
Hmm.
how do you get
Okay.
how do we get a hold of you, Ron?
Well, you
What's
could,
Will you put your contact information in the chat?
yeah, absolutely. If I can find the chat window again.
That's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
I actually have Ron's personal phone number, and for $10,000, I'll let you guys have it
Really?
if you all pitch in. You know,
I don't know about that. I think we might be able to get it off you for less.
there you go.
I'll go at 9. I have it too. I'll go 9 grand.
Well, I'll tell you what,
No,
guys, all joking aside, this is a tremendous product. We've already seen it in action. Um, and the key is we're all going to find out eventually how the market's going to turn out this year. The question you want to ask yourself is, do you want to be in front of it or you want to be behind it? And in this business, it's definitely better to be in front of things.
No, I thought he
Um,
said that we were going to be able to get it for $40 a month,
no,
right at the beginning.
that was 4 years ago.
No, no, no. I heard $40 a month.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when we started, Karen. And
Yeah. Yeah.
at some point I got to pay myself.
I wasn't here back then.
Yeah, you should have been.
I was here shortly thereafter. I think it's been a few years now.
Mhm.
Well, I
Well,
know it's been a few years now.
bottom line is, you can join this program and, even at $99 a month, what's an average commission for you sell a new construction home in any one of your markets? If you only had the buyer side, let's say you sold the most inexpensive new construction home in your market, and you got the buyer
Mhm.
side of the commission, what's that ballpark going to be for the commission?
Well, the average right now around the country is about 12,000 per commission. That's the average. But
Well,
some are,
once you get one deal, I'm not talking about a builder or a developer or a neighborhood. I'm just talking about one
Just a buyer.
sale.
Hmm.
You
It
paid for
pays for
Hoodle
it.
for the life of Hoodle for the next
Yeah.
12 years. So, um, so the numbers are going to go up, and they have to go up because you guys deserve better services and more services, and we want to create a better website. Lily, I see you got your hand up. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Lily?
You are.
Mhm.
Just a question on if I know you're adding coaching, but if we join now, would we still get coaching or how would that work?
Yes, yeah, you'll get coaching, and after this, it's going to be different, but I'll honor the same thing that we've already done. Um, the way the coaching works, we're going to go through a lot of different things, and actually, it's kind of good timing because right now we're at the first of the year, and so every Thursday morning we meet at 9:30 Central, and we're restarting the whole program where we're going to start with, first of all, identifying, well, who are the builders in your area. And I've got so many things to show you. It changes your perspective very, very fast. You start going, oh my gosh, I had no idea all this valuable information is here. And it's not just stuff I know, we're learning from each other, right? So it's like the whole effectiveness of everybody is going up. But then we start dealing with, well, which builders do I want to work with? And it's because you're not chasing every one. You're positioning yourself to where they want to work with you. The guy that I was telling you about, Lily, that told me he's starting the year with 20 million to 100 million in his pipeline. He told me a few weeks ago, and this guy's been in our program for about 2 years now. And when he started, he was like, he said, Ron, I like this, but I'm intimidated by going and talking to builders. He just kind of confessed it to me. It's like, you don't need to be intimidated because you're not even selling them. You're going and you're learning what their pain points are. You're learning what value, and then you begin to present to them, here's what I can do for you. And there's so many different things that we can do to win builders and move them from being a cold lead to becoming a client. It's amazing. There's no single step at all that I can think of that keeps you from doing this. I mean, if it's, well, I don't know how to leave a voicemail message, we've got that. Well, I don't know which builders to go after, we got that. How do I audit what they need? We got that. How do I interview them? Got that. How do I find out their pain points? We do that. You know, how do I set up a relationship with a builder or developer to where they're pursuing me, right? We got that. And this guy's name is Dan, and what Dan was telling me a couple of weeks ago, he said, I cannot believe this. And I hear a lot of realtors say, I never thought my real estate would work like this. But he's like, I just never knew. He said, it doesn't feel like I'm selling anymore. He said, I just go, they're calling me up. And he said, I'll go meet with them. He said, I never feel like I'm selling. I'm just having a business conversation. And they're introducing me to each other. But that's the way builders work because they kind of have this, good old boy mentality. So, Monica,
Yes. How are the home buyers finding out about your site?
the home buyers find out about it through a variety of ways. The biggest one is SEO and social media and word of mouth. Those are probably the three biggest ways is word of mouth, social media, and SEO. And SEO is changing as you guys have probably heard. The more neighborhoods that we get on Hoodle in your market, the more traffic that shows up. So to be very frank, in what market are you in, Monica?
I'm in Northwest Indiana, outside of Chicago.
Gary?
No, I'm in Cedar Lake,
Cedar Lake, okay.
down by St. John,
Yeah, you probably got
Cherville.
Chicago Bears out there before long.
Yeah.
So, um, well, you know, when you start Hoodle in a new market, you're going to be the first realtor that's there. So that's good and bad. Okay. It's good because you want to be the first one to go talk to the builders and the developers about it. You want to be the one to be able to say, hey, I've got something that none of the other realtors have. Okay. Builders love this and they love you for bringing it to them. And I can tell you a lot of stories, even over in Indianapolis, where that was our first market outside of Champaign, we went and started in Indianapolis. And within 3 days after we got back from Indianapolis, and there were companies like uh, Call Tucker, is that it? Do you know that one?
Mhm.
Big real estate firm there um, that does a lot of new construction. And one of the realtors there called us up after we got back from Indianapolis and said, I just got 2 buyer leads off of Hoodle. It's like, it didn't work that way for me. It wasn't that fast for me, but I'm glad it is for you. Within a couple months, we had a brand new realtor that started also in Indianapolis. We had a lot of realtors that were starting in Indianapolis. And one of them called me up and said, hey, I've never done new construction. I'm a new realtor. I've got 6 months. I don't know if I'm going to make it as a realtor. And he said, but I really want to give this a shot. And he called me up 4 days later. He said, I just got a listing. He said, I just got my first listing and it's a new construction listing. And so the way that we do it, Monica, is sorry, I'm getting off track. We start when you start picking neighborhoods that are new home neighborhoods in your local market and add a you add a page. You have your own dashboard as a realtor on Hoodle. So within your dashboard, you can create multiple neighborhood pages. You can add as many photos as you want. You can add links to the schools. You can create a nice bio. There's even a way to do that. We recommend create a block, if there's, school districts always can be the same. Just copy and paste it for your next page and your next page, right? He got on and he created a neighborhood page. I think the guy's name is Dave. And he created a neighborhood page. He called me up. He said, what do I do next? He said, I got a question for you. I said, what's going on? He said, and it was the second time I talked to him. It's like I was talking to a different guy. He said, I just came from meeting with a developer and it's a big developer. He said, I did what you said. I created a neighborhood page. I said, cool, tell me about it. He said, well, I went in and I showed him what I was doing and I showed them their neighborhood on Hoodle. And he said, I'm trying to help bring this to the Indianapolis market. And this lady said, hang on just a second. Our vice president of sales is here today. And she brings this guy out from the back room. And he said he comes out and, now he's really intimidated. His knees are knocking because he's a new realtor. He's never done new construction. He said, now tell the VP of sales what you're doing. He said, well, there's this new platform. It's called Hoodle. And we want to really showcase your beautiful neighborhoods because we don't think that the buyers are seeing most of the new construction properties that are available. And the guy said, hang on just a second, I'll be right back. And they go and he said he could see him down the hallway and they go in a conference room and they've got it and they shoot it up on the wall and on a big monitor. He said in about 4 minutes they came back out and the guy says, I love this. We've been wishing realtors would do this for years. Would you
Mhm.
put all 22 of our neighborhoods on Hoodle? And he said, we've got 22 neighborhoods in Indianapolis. It's like, dude, you know what? Do one and then decide if you want to do the others. For me personally, I would want to spread it out to different builders. I wouldn't want to just lock myself into one builder developer, right?
Mhm.
I think you want to work with multiple builders. You want to meet all the builders you can. You want to develop relationships with all of them. Here's another thing, too. Think small, not large. Okay. When it comes to builders and developers, if you want to win builders and developers, start going after the small companies, not the Pulte's, the D.R. Hortons, the Lennars. Okay. You can always do business with them, but they're harder to get your foot in the door. The guy I was just telling you about that Dan that's got, big pipeline, he started with small ones, and within 2 years now he's going after big major metro builders, and and they're giving him the business. And so, anyway, how do buyers find it? Buyers find it through us building content,
Mhm.
and the more content that we get in your area, the more traffic that shows up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Gary, I'm way over time here. I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, I appreciate, Ron, I know this is precious time for you, and I really appreciate you doing this. I've always enjoyed our conversations, and over the years, guys, Ron and I have gotten to know each other a good bit more, and that's why I'm comfortable doing business with him. Plus the fact that his wife Cindy is in our organization. So, um, there's a lot more to this, and what we didn't mention is what a powerful tool this is. If you're in the agent attraction huddle, being able to show people the kind of tools that we have, and this is one of them. They're not going to find another product like this out there. I've looked. There might be some copycats coming along. Actually, I told Ron that probably a year or so ago, Ron. I said, hey, we got to get this thing really out there in the public eye, because some other smart person will try to copy it and make it better. But it's always good to be first in category, and we're on the right track as we're moving and growing. And we'll get, so what we'll do, Ron, is we'll get together with these guys here and um, and once the recording comes out tomorrow, we'll have, I'm sure, more interest, and then get back together and figure out how we make this go forward. So where we are, and grow, and just keep growing. So
Yeah, I love it, guys. And I'm very pro EXP. I don't know if is everybody here EXP or no? Not
most people are, but there's people here from all different brokerages,
yeah.
different parts of the country. We even get Canadians a lot. So sometimes they're just investors looking to see how they can, connect with one of our agents. But
Yeah.
so it's a good mixed group. Yeah. But
Yeah. Excellent.
my philosophy is a rising tide lifts all ships. I'm happy to teach people and help them wherever they are, and they might eventually realize, hey, I'd rather be with these guys over here.
Yeah.
So
Well, Gary, and thank you to all of you for letting me share this. And thanks for, if you have any questions, I dropped my LinkedIn profile in there. If you want to add me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Hoodles everywhere, you can find us on Facebook or LinkedIn or other places. Just shoot me a message. If you need to hop on a call, we can do that too. I'm always wanting to help everybody I can. And Gary, thank you so much. You guys have an
yeah,
amazing opportunity with this guy. I think
thanks.
I just think the world of him. And so, any last questions? If not, I'll shut up and
What I just want to say thanks too to the guests who are on, Robin, Tiffany, Ryan. We appreciate you guys coming and joining us, and you're welcome to join us anytime you want. This is now the next 5 weeks I'm teaching every single class, and I do a lot of guided, we call it guided training, where you're implementing what I'm teaching as we're actually teaching it. So come on and join some of those, and we're going to get into the fundamentals, um, the kind of stuff that drives home the bacon. So uh, for like new construction, for example, how do you do it? It's going to be hands-on. So join us anytime you want. In meantime, you guys take care of yourselves. God bless you and all your loved ones. Thanks again, Ron. And I'll see those of you in the huddles and the one-on-ones you've got set up when we have those. If you don't have a one-on-one, set one up. That's how we get things done. So, okay, you guys take care of yourselves. Thanks again, Ron. And Ron, why don't we touch base by the end of the week? You know, go from there.
Sounds very good. Sounds very good.
Okay.
God bless, guys.
Good night, everybody, and go Indiana.
Yeah.
So I'm
go
rooting for.
Indiana.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Night.
Thank you for watching Monday Night Live. Consider subscribing. Agents, want to learn more? Schedule a call with Gary using the link in the description.